Outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray, a traitor in his own right, dropped a bomb on the American people Sunday evening. He appeared on 60 Minutes and started saying things that we've been saying for years, but for some reason the Biden administration has refused to deal with. He talked about the utter failure of the administration to prevent the Chinese from positioning themselves inside the American infrastructure network, positioned essentially to be able to turn off the lights in the United States. We need to talk about this, and unfortunately you need to hear this. EMP is not the threat out there anymore. Cyber attacks and saboteurs can do the very same thing and even more completely. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and that's what we cover on this channel, things that the mainstream media just has brushed under the rug. We've been talking about bits and pieces here, but it feels a little different when we hear it coming from the director of the FBI. Not only that, but then we started hearing from people that were inside the Trump administration last time, sharing about how, yes, we've been warning everyone about this these years. We provided the tools to the Biden administration to deal with these threats, but clearly they have chosen not to do so. We're keeping you ahead of the mob here by keeping you informed. All right, so conveniently, just when it's not going to be Director Wray's problem anymore, he decides to finally start speaking the truth. And boy, oh boy, all the conspiracy theorists are going to have to turn the page. We need some new conspiracies because he just confirmed basically a whole bunch of things that we've been told for years. That's just crazy talk. Chinese sleeper cells, Chinese being infiltrated into our infrastructure network with cyber attacks and just waiting to turn out the lights. Yep. You go down the list, and it's sounds awfully familiar. Sounds like you've been listening to a channel like this one. But from the FBI director. All right, what he said, as he's dropping facts, should scare and motivate every single American. If you're not taking steps to protect yourselves, there's coming a day, and it may coincide directly with the first 24 hours of hostility with China. If China and the United States get into a shooting war with each other, we may find ourselves that the only power, the only water, the only fuel that we have access to are the ones that you provide for yourself. That may sound overly harsh, but anyone who thinks that there will be electricity when we are in World War III with either Russia or China is fooling themselves. You need to be prepared to not have any electricity coming into your home from the power grid. They may be able to figure out how to get it back on. There'll be a lot of people working hard at that. But there is absolutely no question in my mind that the power will go out for a significant period of time when we have a massive sleeper cell attack on infrastructure as well as cyber attack on our infrastructure. The FBI knows that China has the capabilities to do this. They have the assets on the ground here in the United States to do this. Now, he said that the Chinese cyber hacking program is the largest in the world, employing tens of thousands of hackers that are dedicated to targeting U.S. critical infrastructure related to power, natural gas, water treatment plants, fuel delivery, and even telecoms. So, if you have any of those flowing into your home or flowing out of your home, you need to be prepared for all those services to stop. And you say, Steve, that's a pretty tall order. That's a pretty big ask. I'm not asking, I'm telling you, if you don't provide those for yourself, you will just go without. So, you need to take some steps. When you're dealing with the sewage, if it means you getting a 5-gallon bucket and a whole bunch of kitty litter, do what you got to do. If it means having a little bit of a battery backup, and a generator for power, do that. You will need to communicate with people, right? Power, water. Where are you going to get your water from? When the water goes out in a town or a city like Richmond had that, Walmart's, other stores, they start pulling water bottle inventory from all over and concentrate it in that area of need. When there's a hurricane, they strip the bottled water from all over the country and ship it down to Florida or wherever the hurricane is. What happens when it's nationwide? Well, there ain't going to be any more bottled water because the bottle water making plants have tap water pipes coming into them, and if they're not getting clean tap water coming in, you ain't getting bottled water coming out. And suddenly Americans across the entire United States are going to the store looking for bottled water simultaneously. How long do you think that's going to last? If you get there 2 hours into this crisis, you will not see a bottle of water. You will not see anything liquid in the store. It's that serious. He said that China has already penetrated many of these systems and is lying in wait for the moment that they move to crash our whole system. Our system is already fragile. I've talked about that on this channel a lot. There are parts of our infrastructure that could collapse just by themselves in the weather, okay? Now, when we start adding onto that an inside force and an outside force intentionally trying to break the system, it won't last. And people act like the idea of the power going out for months is impossible. Couldn't happen. The idea that they won't have water for weeks, that's impossible, can't happen. And yet, friends, the director of the FBI is saying, yeah, not only is that a distinct possibility, it's kind of inevitable. Unless we fix these problems, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when China decides to do it to us. I don't know. I mean, are we ever in conflict with China? Or will we ever be in conflict with China? What happens when we start racing to the aid of Taiwan and China says, if your ships get within X number of miles or kilometers of Taiwan, we will attack your infrastructure. We will turn out the lights in America. Not only infrastructure, but the Chinese have targeted the personal data of Americans. We've talked about a bunch of these hacks, including the telecom hacks. The truth is, as Director Ray shared, they have stolen more American data than every other country combined. Yes, we're including Nigeria in that, and their princes and all that free good money, that inheritance money. China is by far the worst culprit in international hacking. And much of it is focused in on the United States. He also said that the focus on hacking has been Chinese intelligence services burrowing into our systems. So not trying to attack our systems, but trying to get into our systems and to stay in our systems, to provide access when it is required, both cyber as well as personnel at critical facilities. They have gotten into companies that write software, and they've gotten people in there to add code into the base code of a lot of programs. They have made so deep of inroads into American infrastructure that the FBI, knowing that it's been like that for years, can't get them out. Code, outside hacking attempts, and personnel. Let's put it this way. How many U.S. troops do we have in China? And you go, that's kind of ridiculous, Steve. Of course we don't have any troops in China. How many Chinese soldiers are in the United States right now? Oh, it's suddenly not a ridiculous question anymore, is it? Because the answer is not zero. FBI director talked about how that there are many thousands as part of Chinese sleeper cells here in the United States, and they're tasked with targeting U.S. infrastructure. Sleeper cells, Chinese sleeper cells here in the United States. How did they get in? I wonder how they got into the United States. Gee, I wonder how. So, the Chinese have soldiers here. How many? Well, we know that there are about 3 million military-age males who were here in the United States that were born in China. 3 million. Now, the U.S. military is 1 million soldiers, and a percentage of them are not really capable of fighting because they are having issues with which bathroom to use and such. We have gone full DEI over in the military, and it's not what it used to be. Let's just put it that way. We were just having a conversation at church, and a former Army guy was sharing with us the experiences that he heard from his son in the Air Force at basic training, and comparing that with his experiences a long time ago going into the Army. And that now that you have, if you feel like you're being overwhelmed, or you feel like the drill instructors are being a little too tough on you, you have 3 passes that you can give them a pass, and they have to leave you alone because you're feeling overwhelmed. You can just imagine how those timeout cards will work when U.S. soldiers are fighting Chinese soldiers on American soil. You can imagine it probably won't go so well. The Chinese will laugh at them, misgender them, and if necessary, finish them off, right? 3 million military-age males born in China here in the United States. Many of them have served in the People's Liberation Army over in China. Is that a problem? Well, it sure kind of is. Can you imagine 3 million Americans living in China, many of whom have been in the U.S. military? China would be losing its mind over that. So 3 million Chinese soldiers potentially here in the United States, 1 million American soldiers spread across the entire globe, defending the whole world from freedom and stuff. So sure, we'd win. But they could do a terrifying amount of damage and sabotage to our networks and systems because we don't know who they are. Unless we round them all up, but I think we all seem to kind of agree that was not a good thing in World War II. Director Wray said China has already infiltrated malware, or software that's intended to do harm, into critical American infrastructure. He says that they've done it. Things like water treatment plants. We're talking about transportation systems. We're talking about targeting of our energy sector, the electric grid, natural gas pipelines. And recently we've seen targeting of our telecommunication systems. That's from Director Wray. Take it for what you will. I think he's a piece of work, but I think that now he doesn't really have to keep up the illusions anymore, and he wants to dump this on the lap of the Trump administration so that he can say afterwards, like, I warned everyone about that. Yeah, but did you do anything about that? Because you were warned about that by the Trump administration 4 years ago. And more than that, more than the infiltration of these systems, the many thousands of Chinese in sleeper cells who will take down American infrastructure when they are tasked to do so. Friends, in World War III, when it really pops off, when the United States suddenly gets involved, there will be no power, there will be no water, there will be no natural gas, there will be no gasoline at the pumps, or diesel at the pumps, or kerosene at the pumps when you go to the corner market. Well, partially because that's pumped out of the ground using electricity, and there won't be any electricity, so that's just out. Unless you bring your own pump, and then that's called stealing. and looting doesn't really go so well. So we have all this stuff getting dropped on 60 Minutes on Sunday. And what's the response to this? So, well, the revelation prompted outrage from former Trump administration officials who said Director Wray did not do enough to stem the threat from China on his watch, only to then turn around and discuss it publicly a week from before he steps down. Such as former National Security Council Senior Director for Cyber Security under the Trump administration said, "This enrages me. I left them with the tools they needed to confront this, and it appears those tools went unused for 4 years. Total mismanagement." And it leaves us with one very important question. This is my question, and I really want an answer to this. And I'll look at certain sleepy people in D.C. and their son, how many millions to betray your country? Because it's well documented that somebody's son got millions and millions of dollars from Chinese state-controlled companies. For what? We don't even really know. But with what Director Wray is saying, we kind of start having an inkling, don't we? And remember, there's always 10 for the big guy. And what's up with this last-minute sharing? Clearly, Director Wray, who hasn't done his job, whether flat out intentionally at the orders and behest of this administration or through sheer incompetence, suddenly wants to talk about these things and wants to suddenly throw the responsibility onto the Trump administration. Just like President Biden said that migrant border crossings went way down once he became president. It's like this alternate universe where it's just like, what are these people even talking about? Like, there isn't a single stat in the world that makes that even make any bit of sense. Like, this is just a flat-out lie, and you're just hoping nobody will call him on it. It must be nice to have the mainstream media on your side, but you certainly don't have the Poplar report on your side. I will keep calling out your BS. Hopefully, these people go away, and we can try to start fixing all the things that they've broken, including either allowing or even inviting in the Chinese sleeper cells and hacking attacks to burrow into our infrastructure. I half wonder if President Biden is going to retire in China. I say that in jest. Sort of. I have serious questions about the treasonous activities about many of the people that are currently in power. A few more days, friends. A few more days. Hopefully we can make it. All right, friends. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think comments down below. If you want to check out another video from this channel, this is the latest one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.